thank you for joining us here at First Baptist in Hamilton for a very special presentation. Today we'll have Daryl and Zachary bringing us some information from Interfaith Works in Syracuse. And if you're not familiar with Interfaith Works, I just, by way of introduction, wanted to tell you a little bit about them. They were founded in 1976 to build bridges of understanding among people of different religions and across racial divides. In the U.S., climate of concern for interracial understanding during the decades of civil rights activity, Interfaith Works aligned to fulfill this important function. The agency was also ahead of the curve on creating interreligious understanding, working first among Catholics, Protestants, and Jews, and then expanding to include Muslims, Sikh, Buddhist, Mormon, Baha'is, and other faith groups. The need for this work heightened after the 9/11 terrorist attacks and continues to serve as a vehicle to address hate toward those who are considered different. Over the years, the agency added social service programs to address the needs of people who are vulnerable, low income, targets of oppression, and refugees who arrived through the federal refugee resettlement program, fleeing war, political repression, and famine. Programs to address the needs of frail elderly, of those in prisons, hospitals, and nursing homes, and programs to address hunger and housing have been part of Interfaith Works. And what first kind of led to us inviting Interfaith Works to speak tonight, for Daryl and Zachary to speak on behalf of Interfaith Works, was really a concern that Dick Cheshire had before he passed away. He was a member of the committee who put together this speaker series, and his heart was really touched by the news that he was reading and seeing on TV about Afghan refugees coming to the United States. So he said to us, we should really focus as a church and as a community on this important issue. And we looked at what groups in Central New York were working on refugee resettlement, and Interfaith Work was certainly at the top of the list. So it's my honor and my privilege to invite Daryl and Zachary to speak. And I think, too, this is a wonderful tribute to Dick Cheshire's legacy, a beloved member of our church. So let's give a warm Hamilton welcome to Daryl and Zachary.
Is it okay to sit down? We're good? I'd like to get somebody to share a story about the gentleman, Dick. Is it his name? Mm-hmm. Tell us about him.
Sure. Well, some of you know, Dick Cheshire was someone that had a wonderful heart, very kind, and I feel he always pushed our church and our meetings to think about how we could help those in need around us. And that was really his heart and his vision, and something that really drove him.
Thank you. Thank you. How old was he?
85.
Aw. Oh, how wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. And thanks for having us. I'm a great-grandmother. I turned 75 this summer. Pretty cool. I was the year of the first baby boomers. And I have all these wonderful colleagues that are much younger than I am, that I learn so much from. My background is in the fashion industry, and then my husband and I owned sports bars in Syracuse, New York for 20-something years. And it was a fascinating business to be in. However, I was looking for meaning in my life. I was tired of all the bickering and the, eye scratching and all of that kind of thing. And I found a group called Women Transcending Boundaries, WTB, in Syracuse, New York. It came about because of 9/11. A Christian woman, a Muslim woman said, let's get to know each other. Let's find our commonalities instead of our differences. And that really led me on the road to getting involved with Interfaith Works, because at the time, Betsy Wiggins, who's one of the founders of Interfaith Works, her husband was the executive director, Jim Wiggins. He has since passed away. He was in the Department of Religion at Syracuse University, a professor. And Jim was one that he was best on a golf course. And I didn't know anything about the not-for-profit world. When I got involved, he got me involved on committees, and I chaired committees, and when I got involved with Interfaith Works on staff, it was through Beth Broadway, who's our current president and CEO, who I got to know through the Community Foundation with the Leadership Classroom. Here's 5 grandmas who went through the Leadership Classroom, 8 months of learning how to be leaders as grandmas. They gave us this thick of a thing to read. But boy, did I learn. Oh, I was in my 60s then. So it was a marvelous experience. And through that, working with Interfaith Works has been very humbling. And I've been very, very grateful to all the people like yourselves that we get to know and to meet. A little bit about Interfaith Works. We do have 3 programs, as your pastor said. We're in our 45th year, and we affirm the dignity. We do our community-wide dialogue to end racism is the largest running program in the country on racism. That is through our Center for Dialogue and Action. We also have a roundtable within that program, a roundtable of faith leaders, which you are all a part of because Pastor Susie Harrop, maybe some of you know her, she represents the American Baptists on the roundtable. And just a sweetheart of a person. So our roundtable, I consider them the consciousness of who we are. We have 120 faith partners that help us in many, many different ways. We do a lot of work with school exchanges, with dialogue. We're very instrumental in the Columbus dialogues. We do community-wide dialogue on racism. We have the duck race every year. The last 2 years, because of COVID, has been virtual. However, we're ducking racism. And I think we just did our 19th year of the duck race, and hopefully next year we will be in person again. Virtually is, I do love Zoom. I really do, because we don't have to travel and we don't have to go different places, and you can go from one Zoom meeting to another, but it does get awfully boring after a while to just, oh my goodness, I've got another Zoom call. I'm sure you know that, Zach. So, and we do senior services. Seniors that are frail and elderly that want to stay in their own homes. We're doing a lot more work now in Madison County that we really want you to be aware of to help seniors. We just got grants from Madison County, so if anybody's interested in that, we'll give you the information to get in touch with our team. And then we do refugee resettlement. We've been doing that for over 30 years. The last 5 years, because of the past administration, has been extremely challenging. They decimated the whole system. So 5 years ago, we at Interfaith Works, and we're one of 2 agencies in Syracuse that resettles refugees. The other one is CYO, which is a part of Catholic Charities. We are helped by the Episcopal Migration Ministries. They are helped by the Catholic bishops. There are 9 national agencies that help to resettle, and 7 of them are faith-based. So it goes from the United Nations, Department of State, Homeland Security, the 9 agencies, and then the different affiliates that are throughout the country. Because of the administration, there were, with Episcopal Migration Ministries, there were 31 agencies throughout the United States. There are now 11. There are probably a third of the agencies across the United States to help refugees resettle. And the story is there's more refugees than ever. We were starting, 5 years ago, we were starting to get Syrians. Wonderful story of the first family that came, a father, mother, 3 kids at the time, and all he wanted was a car. And we had a family, another church that was helping them, because we do have ambassadors and different groups that help our families. I want a car, I want a car, I want a car, and then he wanted the internet, and then he wanted this, and wanted that. Finally I said, come to the parking lot with me. Do you see our parking lot? It's not a car lot. those cars all belong to our staff. And for you to get a car, you have to get a job first. He not want to get a job for whatever reason. His wife was lovely. His children were wonderful. People come with different ideas of what our country is like and what the expectations are like. Different countries expect different things. Our Congolese, they don't expect anything from us. They are so excited about coming and having a bed to sleep in, a refrigerator that they can open up, water, education for their kids. The Burmese are like that, the Bhutanese are like that. The Syrians, a little more, they expect a little more. They lived in cities. They had careers. They had homes. And then they were kicked out of their own country. In order to become a refugee, you have to leave your country, go and get refuge in another country in order to go through the couple of years of all of the vetting and everything else. So when refugee resettlement, so we resettled 5 years ago, 705 new people. The north side of Syracuse, where most of them live because all the services are there, and their families are there and so on, has about 10,000 refugees. And it is a tapestry of color. When you walk down the streets and see these gorgeous clothes that they wear, and the fact that they can carry a basket with all this stuff in it on their heads blows my mind because I can't even walk straight. They're so grateful, they're so humble, they're so, all of them, they want to be friends, they want to hug you, they want to get to know you, even if there is this huge language barrier. So when the past administration came into being, I remember we had a roundtable of faith leaders meeting. We meet once a month, the third Wednesday of every month. I remember a rabbi crying. Rabbi Pepperstone was just in tears because of who came into office. And no disrespect to anybody, I'm not putting blame on anybody. We just knew things would be different, and they were from the first executive order that said no Muslims will be allowed. And then it just went downhill from there. We were, the whole country, we had 95,000 plus. In the United States alone, there's millions of refugees throughout the world. And there's so much war and so much stuff going on. I don't understand it all, but I guess there's reasons for it. So when that happened, when they started to just destroy the system, it went from, every year, our fiscal year is October 1st through September 30th is the fiscal year. Every September, the President of the United States, in consultation with Congress, says, here's the number that we will resettle for this coming next 12 months. Well, the number was supposed to have been 95,000, and then we get a new person in office. He immediately cut that number to 50,000, where we really resettled 30-something thousand. The next year was 30,000, and then went down to 18,000, and then this past year, 15,000. When President Biden came into office, he upped the number to 62,500. We all knew we'd never get there. It was impossible because the system where all of the places where they're housed and the whole system of biometrics and the screening and the interviews and everything else, we knew we couldn't get there. The reality is there were about 12,000 that were resettled last year. So now comes fiscal year 2022, which started October 1st, and we knew and every agency gives a number to their national agency to say, here's how many we can accept, that we have the capacity in our community to accept. We have the education facilities, we have the healthcare facilities, we've got the apartments, we have all these wonderful people like yourselves to help us. And our number, we said we would receive 700. That's a blessing from what we were, we were receiving 50 and 60 a year. However, the last 4 years, what has happened in Interfaith Works especially, and no disrespect to any of the gentlemen in the room, but our senior staff is all made up of females. Sorry. We love you anyways. They said, we're going to build muscle. And they said, we're going to build wraparound services for our newcomers that are here already. Because refugee resettlement, the way it works, you're supposed to give resettlement services for 3 months, 90 days. And then they're supposed to go on their own because you're resettling more people, which is ridiculous. Who in the world can learn anything in 90 days? I mean, you come from a country that's so different. People are different, everything's different. So we started doing citizenship classes, we started doing immigration work. Our mental health and wellness staff was beefed up. We have had so many new grants, and my friend here, Zach, is going to share with you one that's especially interesting for all of you here to know about because of your universities. So the wraparound services, so we said we would resettle 700, which is great. We're gearing up, we're hiring people. And then Afghanistan happened a couple of months ago. And you saw what happened at the airport there. So a great story. We have a friend named Sabor who worked with us, and he was an SIV. An SIV comes as a special immigration visa. They were those that helped our government in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Him and his 2 brothers came, his parents came, then his sister came, and his sister and brother were left there. So Abdul and Haider and his other brother, they all worked for us at different times. Abdul was able to get his master's degree with our help at Syracuse University. So he was one of them. The Pineapple Express, we knew about it, but it wasn't in the news media yet, and some of you might have heard about it. So he was one of hundreds throughout our country that were prior SIVs that came on special immigration visas because they worked and helped their government through us. He'd get a call from the Pentagon. They would give him the name and a phone number of a family in Afghanistan. He would call them and say, you are to meet this Marine. I'm shaking, I can't believe this all goes on. It's like seeing a movie or reading it in a book. You're going to meet a Marine at this location, at this time. You're to bring this paperwork. You're to burn everything else. And you're going to get on a plane. Excuse me. So that's what happened. So he kept calling people, and he was a big part of it. I'd love to have you meet him. So Afghanistan happens, and I think it's 53,000 ended up at 9 military bases throughout the United States. They were only supposed to be there for a couple of weeks. It's been a couple of months now. They left with nothing. They got on a plane. Some of them were SIVs. Some of them, they called them parolees. There was no funding for them.
If you need contract.
Oh, aren't you sweet?
Well, I'm having water, but I think I'm a good contract. Would you like water? Because for both of you, we do.
Water's gone.
We'll make it. That's a wine. I'm like an amateur. So thank you so much for that. That's very kind. So they're getting on a plane they ran. What happened with Abdul's brother and sister, the brother had a 2-year-old daughter who they broke her arm. But they're safe, they're in Syracuse, they're happy, everything's, good. So we started working with all of our agencies, with Episcopal Migration Ministries. And at first the number was we were going to receive 48 people. We will receive from Afghanistan those that are at our military bases. because they had to be vetted, they had to get health screening. We're in the middle of, or hopefully the middle of COVID. They had a measles outbreak. They had people from all over bringing them clothing and food and everything, but they didn't have the housing to house 53,000 people there, or the distribution system. I mean, distribution systems are really amazing when they work. They really work. When there's one little piece of it that falls apart, you're really in deep doo-doo here. So, we have all of these people at military bases. We were going to receive 48. In the first 6 months, we will receive 150 Afghans that are at our military bases. What has happened too, again, there was no funding for them. So that means that when they come here, we have to ask our friends and neighbors for rent, for money for food. They don't have jobs, they're not qualified, they're not this and that. Hey, look at you. Thank you. Oh my goodness, this is full service. I went and stopped for gas in wherever we were, and they did the gas for me. It was like, I'm gonna move up here. I always have to do the gas for myself. Anyway, thank you so much. So, receiving them, there is funding now though. There's some funding. There's not the funding that we have with refugee resettlement. Not that they get a lot of money either. But so we had to start saying, okay, we're going to raise 250. The number at Interfaith Works was, we're going to raise $250,000, and we started doing that. And then housing. How do you find housing with 24 hours notice? They would give us, they said, 24 to 72 hours notice to tell us who was coming. It just got better and better. So when you think about it though, and we really have to, we have to have a mindset that, yes, we're all crazy at Interfaith Works. We're all doing 10 jobs. Is it worth it? Oh my goodness, is it ever? Is it ever? When we found out that a couple was coming, they were in their 20s, late 20s, we didn't know if they were married or if they were brother and sister because none of that information was available for us because they didn't go through the traditional method of vetting. They're doing that now. We found out then when they arrived, there was a brother and sister. So, if it's a married couple, you get a one-bedroom apartment. If you're brother and sister, you gotta have 2 bedrooms. And the housing stock isn't that great. And the fact that because of COVID, there's rules in place that if people don't pay their rent, they can't be kicked out of their apartments. So a lot of things were happening. They did say, the national agencies did say that these wonderful newcomers could stay with other families for a while. They didn't, because in traditional refugee resettlement world, we have to get them their own housing. They cannot stay with another, unless it's their own family, they have what's called a U.S. tie. So we've received now 28 people, a couple of families. Very exciting. Very challenging too, because the couple of caseworkers that are working with them, they usually, the traditional cycle of refugee resettlement, so they have cultural orientation where in the camps or wherever they were housed in other countries, and they at least have a little perception of what life was like. So here's so many of them that are coming that had a life. They had a life. They went to school. The women had jobs again. The girls got to go to school. And then they come here and they don't have their own things. They don't have the money to get their own things. They don't like the couch that we put in. And we have very high standards for donations. It's got to be in pristine condition. But I know if I like traditional and Zachary likes, I don't know, something with tapestry in it, different things that you're not used to. I heard a story that we have to put in new beds. Well, you don't get the $1,500 beds, you get the $99 beds. Well, I get that it is new, but not comfortable. And there's been a lot of that culture shock, a lot more than we thought we would get. So we're all really hunkering down and doing as much as we can. What the government also just put into place, today's Wednesday, on Monday, is that those that we knew were coming other than Afghans, whoever was on our arrivals board, and I think there's about 30 people, a couple of families from Syria, 5 different individual young men from Sudan, a family from the Democratic Republic of Congo, there was a Ukrainian family, and one from, I never know how to pronounce the Stan countries, Kyrgyzstan, something like that. You know what I mean. How do you pronounce it? Okay. They're still going to be coming. All others are going to be put on hold so that they can move all of those from the military bases. So from now until January 15th, those that are coming with us already are good to go. The other ones are put on standby, kind of, and we will be receiving more of the Afghans. That's our story so far. What I'd like to do, then before we open it up for questions, I know there's a lot of information going out. I'd like my friend Zachary to share with you the program that he is coordinating, that he is starting. It's a brand new program. It's never been done before in the United States. I'd like him to share with you a little bit about who he is, how he came here, and then why it's so important for all of you to understand the educational aspect of it.
Thank you so much, Daryl, for that wonderful presentation. That is quite good. Can you hear me? Oh, thank you so much. I was just commending Daryl for that wonderful presentation. It's a pleasure and an honor being in front of you all. I fellowship at First Baptist Church in Syracuse, so in itself I feel like I'm at home. I say like I was glad when I was told to come to the house of the Lord, you know. So it's good, and now that the church wants to really be so much involved in helping these individuals who have been deprived in so many ways, and this is a noble cause, it's what God wants us to do, and so I would really much encourage you to get involved, and the inspiration of the individual who saw the need of us and you partnering it goes a long way. So my name is Zachary, and I come from Kenya. I'm married and I have 2 children. One is 2 years and the other one is just 3 months old. I came to the United States to study. I was in Syracuse University. I was doing my Master's of Arts in African American Studies. I just completed, and good enough, I was able to secure a job with Interfaith Works, and I was to assume the position of job coach, the honor job coach, Office of New Americans. So in itself, it's a program that helps highly skilled refugees and immigrants to secure jobs within their lines of study. So those who had already attained their bachelor's degree prior to their arrival here, or even had already experience or had some experience within their professional field, those are the kind of people that I'm looking for. I'm here to just do a community outreach, and when I look around you, when I look around this place, the kind of people that I think you guys can be prospective job employers for these individuals that I'll be having in my pipeline. So I'm looking forward to just know you more, the kind of jobs that we can be able to provide for individuals that will be enrolling for the program, and see how we can be of help to them. In so many instances, when people come from different countries, when they come to the United States, they're told that whatever they attained out there, it doesn't really count. You have to start from scratch and try to attain something new. But I think that is really taking away the dignity of a person. Someone having to start all over again, it's not quite human. So in itself, Interfaith saw the need of just partnering with the state We're getting some grants from the state to run this program, and I know that this is a program that will bring transformation, not only in the lives of those people, but in the lives of in our communities, the communities that where they will be living in. And I look forward to work hand in hand with you guys and see how we can make this program a success. Thank you so much.
Another thought for his program. So we're great networkers. We really, all of us here in this room, that's what we do. We get to know people, who they are, what they do, and so on. A couple things that have happened recently. At Syracuse University, there's a young woman, I had seen an article on her in the news media. She's an ROTC student, and she started she got 150 signatures to say, we want Syracuse University to offer scholarships to the Afghans that are coming. And they presented it to the chancellor there. She also is a remembrance scholar. That happened with Lockerbie. Some of you might know that there's a certain number of SU students every year that are there to be the voice of those that passed away. And we met with her last week, and we talked about things that we could do. So while we were talking, we were at a coffee place with another one of my colleagues, Sarah Hewitt, who also has a recent SU grad has a master's degree. They all could be my grandchildren, but I learned from them every day. So I saw our state senator, Rachel May, a friend of ours, along with Meg O'Connell, who is the president of the Allen Foundation. We were at Salt City Coffee downtown Syracuse, and I said, Rachel, I want you to meet somebody. So I introduced her to Maddie, and I said, tell her about this thing you're doing, with we want scholarships. And Rachel said to me, let's talk. You never know where we're going to be making some inroads. So you've got a lot of universities and colleges around here. Let's start saying, who can we talk to at Colgate, at Hamilton, at Morrisville, that might offer some scholarships so that all of these students can be accredited and get what, if they were a teacher, they were an engineer, they were a lawyer in their home country. They still have, they just maybe need the English skills, and we can help, with that. Then what happened last week is we have friends at SUNY Oswego, and our friend Sandy, who's in mental health and wellness, she runs the school there. She said, let's get together with some of our new American leaders. So there's an organization called NAF, New American Forum, and we got together with some of them, with some of her colleagues. And she said, we have a campus in Syracuse, the downtown campus. How can we help the refugees to get an education there instead of having to go to Oswego? What kind of programs can we get? So it's who you know. It's just networking, it's having conversations, it's brainstorming. You just never know where that'll go to. Let's stop there, and anything you want to ask us.
We have another microphone, which Ron will pass around. So if you just raise your hand, you can ask your question to the microphone. Anybody?
Thank you for coming. I'm also 75, so I have something in common. In your sign-up sheet for volunteer processes, you mentioned potential positions in step 3, which are volunteers, mentors, community sponsors, ambassadors. I wonder if you could give us a sort of concise description of what those positions are and what sort of time commitment they require.
Great question. I do have an answer, and hopefully well, my goal is to have, our goal of who I'm working with, again, it's all new, but we started early enough to plan on this. So all that went on our website very quickly. We just got our donation and donation request form done. We now have to do background checks on volunteers, which we never had to do before. So prior to all of this, if a staff member said to me, Daryl, we need a volunteer for whatever it is, I'd find him a volunteer. We'd be creative. There was at one point where somebody said, let's do it in English, this, and I didn't ask for permission. I'd say to all my bosses, it's not going to cost us any money. Can we do this? Now I have to be a little more cautious because we're growing so fast that I have to tone myself down, and it's not easy. To go from being able to do whatever you want to do within the confines of, Interfaith Works. So what we're doing is we're talking to our staff to say, what help would you need? There are many different areas. I was talking to one of our younger staff today who runs our matching grant program. So I'll give you an example. If somebody comes to our country and comes to our agency and is ready to accept the first job offered to them and their family, or they could be a single or a family, and they will not go on public assistance, we have funding that is matched through volunteer efforts for up to 180 days to pay for their rent, their utilities, and their extras. So we have a group, and we found them about 5 years ago in the Hudson Valley that said, we want to match up your families. We have donors that want to give gift cards of $50 a month to 5 families. We started out 5 years ago with 5 families. We now have 30-something families in this program. Every month, they are given a TOPS card for $50. That's huge. So we just got $2,050 from them. So that's how many people we're helping right now. And I said to Alla, she's from the Ukraine, she was an intern with us a couple of years ago, now she's on staff. And I said, would it help if you had a volunteer to do all this for you? So then I'm thinking of other things for her. So to answer your question, we need volunteers to help do grocery shopping with them. We need volunteers to help take them to doctor's appointments. We need volunteers to help them with cultural orientation. It's daunting. So we bring them to their new apartment. This is traditional refugee resettlement. We have a 40-something page cooperative agreement that we have to go by the letter of the law for it because it's all state controlled. So we pick them up at the airport. We have an appropriate meal for them. They could have been traveling. So if they're coming from overseas or from Africa, they could have been traveling 30 hours on a plane. They come here in the wintertime with flip-flops on and a t-shirt. And we always bring coats to the airport for them. And we bring them to their new home. And we're supposed to do an initial cultural orientation. The kids are all wet, they're hungry, they're tired, they don't want to hear any of this. But we have to go through, here's how the light switch works. Can you imagine? Here's where you're going to sleep. Here's where the refrigerator is. Here's how the water runs. Here's the bathtub. And then we're supposed to do a number of different cultural orientations. There's 15 different subjects within the cultural orientation throughout the first 90 days. So we have suggested to our caseworkers, and we're going to be putting those things together for a group of whomever, the volunteers, to do cultural orientations. It might be one-on-one. Think about becoming a mentor. Think about maybe it's over a Zoom call that you could just be a mentor with them, to teach them, to walk side by side with them. We have a lot of children's programming that if you choose to get, I think Emily took 18 people to the duck pond on Friday, and she needed a couple of volunteers to drive them. And we put out a notice and said, who can drive? And we got volunteers. Sometimes we need volunteers to help set up apartments. What we want to do is have a conversation with everybody that wants to volunteer, an individual conversation. First step on that is we did, and you might have been a part of it, an information calls. General, what's going on? And then the second step is to fill out the form and send it in to us. And then we're going to set up a personal conversation, probably on Zoom. What are your interests? We want to meet together. We want to find out what your talents and treasures are. You might know how to fix bicycles. You might know how to do electrical work. You might do wood carvings. Or there was a gentleman that called me that I talked to, one of his friends. They're attorneys. And one of his friends called me and said, he's the chair of our board. He said, so-and-so wants to help you. I said, okay, I'll call him. He said, I do woodworking. I said, you do what? There's an attorney that in his spare time, he fixes things. And I said, that's pretty cool. Would you want to teach a class on that? So that's how we're going to be matching up. It's matchmaking. As far as commitment of time, we are asking for a 6-month commitment. It could be 1 hour a week that you are saying, I have an hour a week. It might be a different hour every week. We're going to work with that. We're very, very adaptable. Did that answer your question a little bit?
Yes, it did, quite a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have another one for you, too. For the Faith Partner Program, you detail some ways in which interfaith benefits partners. Can you supply some stories in which way partners benefit interfaith?
Okay. Pebble Hill Presbyterian Church has been gifting us with $25 gift cards for Tops for many years. They have a budget for it. I think it's about $500 a year. And they can get, if they order it from corporate, they get a couple extra cards. We are always in need of 20. I go to a grocery store, spend $100, I don't have a thing to eat. They go to, so the Tops on the north side has an international aisle. They have all the rice, not white, the white rice, the basmati rice and the jasmine rice and so on. They have all of the different herbs and spices and vegetables and things. So that's a good source. One of the churches does school supplies and backpacks for us. We just designed something new, and they're called welcome kits. So we thought about everything we would need to set up an apartment, and what we did, and it will go live hopefully tomorrow, because they had to tweak it, and then this manager had to get approval for the director, for the president, and so on. And I do understand why they have to do that, but I'm not a patient person when it comes to that. I needed it last week to start sending people. So let's say, for an example, it's a bedroom kit, number 1. And we highlight on there what has to be new and what can be gently used. So for a bedroom kit, it might be a blanket and sheets and so on. A house kit, a welcome kit. There's a bathroom kit in there. There's a baby kit in there. Here's a cool idea. They said in the camps right now, I think there's 1,400 women that are pregnant. We have one that came last week, a couple. In fact, it's the sister or sister-in-law of the first brother and sister that came. Do a baby shower. Isn't that a cool idea? Some of the other thoughts that you might have is you could become a sponsor of a family. That means you get to know them, get to walk shoulder to shoulder. They invite you over for a meal, you invite them over for a meal. You know, build that bond. The reason we ask for 6-month commitment is that they're putting their trust in us, and we want to build the relationship. We don't want to leave them. Did that give you a couple of ideas?
Yeah.
Oh, one other thing, during the holidays, we've done this for years, where you can adopt a family. It might be as a congregation, and some of the different churches put, like, you have a tree, a giving tree, and you put this one will pick for gloves, and this one will pick for whatever it is, or a boy who's 5. So what we would do would be to give you the names in the family, the ages of the children. This is all for the children, but we always give a gift for the parents also, or grandma. We give you the ages, whether it's a boy or a girl. We also would give you some suggestions, and then it's up to you. You can either bring the gifts directly to them, we'll give you their address, or bring them to our agency and our caseworkers. But you're going to see more and more ideas like that. On our website, there's a dedicated page. It says Afghans, but it's for all newcomers. Great questions.
I have a question about education. I think it's great that folks are coming and we're going to get a degree here. But what about our refugees who come with a degree? And what hoops do they have to jump through to have that be valid? I know I worked with traveling therapists for years from Nigeria, from Canada, from Poland, and they're not refugees. I mean, they're traveling therapists, but they've had a lot of pushback. Is it an accredited school? Do you know what you're doing? So I'm just curious, like, if you come with a degree, we always hear the stories of, you know, oh, this person was a social worker, but now they're an Uber driver because that degree isn't valid here. So I'm just curious about that.
So the thing is, we have like organizations like WES that do the translation, so they can be able to like translate the transcripts of those individuals, whatever degrees, or the transcript itself, to the American standards, and we can be able to tell. And besides that, there are some organizations that we've also partnered with through this program, where they can be able to like attain some certifications that will act as a supplement to whatever they had already obtained prior to their arrival. There is like a cost error where they allow for us to be able to like provide those people who are within our pipeline, to provide them with free courses, and they're given certificates that will speak to their expertise. Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, but the state is really working towards like creating or even removing those barriers and just helping these people to move from those kind of survival jobs to jobs that honor them.
That's wonderful, because I know, you know, even within like the SUNY system, sometimes you can start somewhere and not all your courses transfer the same. So I was just hoping that it's not lost time, that you're, starting completely over. So that's good to know that there's a system in place.
Yeah, and for me, by there, something that I forgot to mention is that I cover Onondaga, Oswego, Cayuga, Madison, and Cortland. So all these counties. So
Great.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
First of all, thank you for the work you're doing and for giving us ideas of where we can fit in. As we sit here tonight, what would be some of the things, how would we, if our antenna goes up and we've heard something we like, would it be to Daryl that we connect? For instance, you're saying a baby shower. Say our ladies group wanted to do something like that. Would we connect through you? Yeah. Okay. I'm the community engagement specialist. I don't specialize in anything. But I can, so we I made jest of it, but, you know, we all wear many, many hats in the not-for-profit world. And Interfaith Works is a very special agency. I've never heard anybody talk about it. We have 4 grown daughters, and a couple of them are always complaining about where they work, and this one's catty, and the water cooler effect, and this one doesn't pull their load, and I keep doing all this stuff, and they don't, da, 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 da. Everybody is acknowledged on our staff. Everybody works as a team. If somebody runs into whatever it is, hey, they gotta, I'll give you an example. We do a diaper day the first Friday of every month. We give out 6,000 to 8,000 diapers every month. Diapers are going up in price too, which is really obnoxious. So when they go and pick up the diapers from the diaper bank, something will come over the loudspeaker and says, anybody that's able to, please go to the back door and help bring in the diapers. Everybody, from a director to a whomever they are, we're all equal. We all work, you know, together. And we don't want, and our mental health is very important too. So we're all cheerleaders for each other. We have 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, from 2:30 to 2:45, and different staff are in charge of it. They have whether it's coloring or going for a walk or playing a game or doing yoga or whatever. It's pretty cool. You know that we're all, it's very, very important for our mental health to be able to help all of these wonderful people. I cannot imagine. We are all privileged. No matter what we might think, we have a bed to sleep in, we have food, we have running water, we can take a shower every day if we want to. I don't have to think twice if I want to go and buy whatever, you know, it's going to be. And people come with nothing, but we want them to have dignity. We want them to know that they are loved. We want them to know that they have family in other places. It's, you know, they left their loved ones. There was a case a couple of years ago where somehow 2 teenage boys went to Australia, the parents came here. I have no clue how that happened. John Katko, who a lot of people think whatever about, helped us get that family together. His office helped us. We have really good, we have a fabulous relationship with each and every one of our, whether it's Democrat, Republican, independent, with our state senators and our representatives and our county councilors and our county legislators. They all know who Interfaith Works is. We are known and trusted in our community that we're going to do the right thing. So it's really, really important for all of you to know that we're going to, one other thing that I'm going to share, which I think is, it's so wonderful. We have fundraising, and we have friend-raising, and we get money for grants, we get money from foundations, we get money from individuals. Every single, if you give whatever it's going to be, if you give a $50 or whatever for the end of the year, you want $100 to go to a family, whatever that's going to be, every single penny goes to that, whatever you want. Nothing comes out of it for operational costs or for rent or for, well, we had a $1.8 million capital campaign 7 years ago, and after 5 years we paid for our building, and he had a mortgage burning party. It was so cool. But there's now we need a new parking lot and roof and, all those kind of things. But I think it's really amazing, and for a not-for-profit, for us to really say that to you, you put on your check, you wanted to go to when COVID first hit, and all of our kids, they couldn't go to school. They didn't have tablets. They didn't have computers. How in the world were they going to get educated on Zoom? And we did a fundraising where we got tablets for for many, many, many children. Every single penny of the funding raised went to the purchase of the tablets. So they're very, very, we have a humble agency, I can say that.
My other question would be, what about medical? Once people come, how are they getting ongoing support? I think of children who have chronic earaches and many of them, whatever. It's just, you need that immediate medical care.
So there's a team of doctors that work with us. They are signed up for, I always get confused as to what system they go into, but they do get medical. I don't know the Afghans, I'm not sure of what's going on with that yet. We're hoping that they will get medical. What we also have a really amazing relationship with the Rahma Clinic. It's run by our friends from the Islamic Society, by a group of doctors. It took them years to get all the accreditation and everything else. It's on the south side of the city, and they will help anybody. We also have wonderful, with Syracuse Health Center, St. Joseph's Hospital helps. Everybody really, we've got so many doctors that are on our board, and friends that will help out. We'll make a call to whomever, Dr. Mustafa Aweda, and he is the #1 guy at the VA, and he's on our board, and we'll say, okay, we got this challenge. What do we, who do we go to, and so on. We also have a team for intensive case management. We are, from what I understand, we have to have the capacity when we assure a case. This is not the Afghans, this is everybody else that comes. They will ask us that, do we have the capacity to handle somebody that has problems without a limb, that has problems with mental, with physical, with whatever it is. From what I understand, we have only said no to one case. So before that individual or family comes, our intensive case managers, currently there's 2, and I believe there's plans for 2 more to be hired, and these are all individuals that have an MSW, Master of Social Work, or some other, degrees. We have wonderful volunteer Pam, who was a nurse. Pam Sutterby was a nurse for 20-something years, and Jerry Hall is still a nurse at Upstate, and so there's a lot of people to help out. And we do, unfortunately, there's domestic violence. I've never been touched in my life, I just don't understand it. What is called out-migration, so sometimes there will be a case in another city that they have to flee in the middle of the night, and they will call our directors, their agency there will call our directors and say, this family, this mom, and that these many kids are coming. We find them housing, we find them clothes, we get them into schools. There's a whole community that rallies around that. It's really very, very special.
Any other questions?
Just one quick question. I'm just curious, and I haven't heard it mentioned. Does your organization have ESL instructors? And how do you bridge the language barriers?
A great question. We have a lot of partner agencies. As an example, the children, first of all, are enrolled in school. And our city school system, the Syracuse City School District, has 70-something different languages. And they have all kinds of help. And they do a buddy system. It's so cool. You bring them to their new classroom, there's a buddy there from the same country, with them to have a little helper. All the adults get signed up for what is called the Refugee Assistance Program through the City of Syracuse School District. Started many years ago by a gentleman named Bob, and they call it Bob's School for many, many years. And that's also, we get every single adult into that school. ESL is taught, there's Hope Print, another agency, not-for-profit. There's the Northside Learning Center, there's RISE, there's Yeshua Ministries. There's many others. We did do some ESL classes at one time. Currently, we don't have the capacity to do it. When we first bought the building that we're in, there's 3 floors. We had not-for-profits upstairs and downstairs. We have since taken over almost all of the building. We still have a couple of not-for-profits, but we don't have the capacity of space to do ESL. But there's so many other partner agencies. It takes a village, and we make sure that, and with tutors, and some churches are doing, some of that, of doing some classes. And it doesn't mean it, we had a group of volunteers, we were called the Hokey Pokey Ladies, when I first got involved with Women Transcending Boundaries, and we do volunteer work with the refugees, and with the women especially, and they call us Hokey Pokey Ladies because we teach them the Hokey Pokey of left, right, and we do fashion shows, and we make jewelry with them, and we go to the library with them, and we get books with them, and we read with them. We had pro-literacy that was a part of it. Now, there's another thing that the Imagination Library, everybody knows who Dolly Parton is. She started a not-for-profit many years ago to say we want books in the hands of under 5 years old. Onondaga County, which we're part of, started out in one zip code on the north side a number of years ago. I remember going to their grand opening thing. What it is as each refugee child comes into our community. This is for all children now, in the whole community. But with the newcomer population, the new American population, each and every child is signed up for Imagination Library. They receive, up to the age of 5, they receive an appropriate book once a month. If there's 5 kids under the age of 5, there are 5 different books come every month. And we can always get extra books too, because we call the county and I'll say to them, I need 200 books, and yeah, come and pick them up. It's wonderful. Did that answer your question a little bit?
How do you bridge when you're getting volunteers? How do you help everybody communicate with each other, whether if they're working on helping a family, volunteering with a family? How does not to get hung up on the language, there's many different ways we speak to one another, but how does that work within the volunteer setting?
We have translators, and there's a couple of apps. Are you familiar with the apps from?
Okay, there's an app that the state just rolled out through the Office of New Americans for ESL, like practice, to be able to practice English. So in terms of how to bridge that, we have volunteers or interpreters who come. Maybe if you need an interpreter, we'll always assign you one because we have a list of interpreters, and they will help in terms of that. But collaboratively, in a collaborative manner, the way Daryl has said, it has not gone to the level of like trying to bring all these groups together. We just rely on their resources because of, as she's explained, that capacity in terms of offering those services at the moment, it is not feasible for organization, but we'll look towards how we can be able to bring all these groups together and meet in a situation where we can communicate and administer a very effective program. Yeah, thank you.
I have a pretty cool story. So, her name is Winnie. She's from Fayetteville United Methodist Church. They were helping the first Syrian family we received that the dad all wanted was car. She was in her 80s, Winnie. She knew how to work an app on the phone, and she was able to communicate with all these kids. Who knew? I don't know how to do that yet, but I might have to learn. So there's ways, to do it. It's, you know, a lot of it's body language, a lot of it's, they just want to know you care. Never be afraid of volunteering for anything that you think you might want to do. We had a lady that came to me, it was a couple of years ago, and she said, I think I want to volunteer, but I really don't know what I can do, and I'm kind of, I don't know, and she was like, I'd never met her before. And I said, well, there's a class going on right now. Would you come with me? So this whole group of volunteers was doing this ESL. It was a group of retired teachers that had started it. They started their own curriculum. Went on for 3 years. They were just marvelous. One of the guys started teaching people, Dick Wood, started teaching people how to do bikes and this and that. So she goes with these people she didn't know. This is a volunteer, a prospective volunteer. And she comes to me afterwards and she said, that was really fun. I think I'd like to do this. Well, as I'm talking to her, she's a music teacher in Solvay. She started getting involved. We had a young man come into the class that played the trumpet in his country. He wanted a trumpet. We found a trumpet for him. It had a hole in it. This group fixed the hole in the trumpet. The young man played the trumpet and then started giving it back, and we said, no, it's yours.
Any other questions?
Since there are no other questions, let's first of all give Daryl and Zachary a big round of applause. Thank you so much. I know I myself leave this talk inspired and thinking about what I can do to help. And along those lines, if you'd like to find out more, you can go to interfaithworkscny.org. And also, on your way out, we have an offering plate at the top of each stairwell. If you'd like to make an offering, our church will send that offering to Interfaith Works, and also our missions committee will match whatever is offered, so it will be doubled. So I just want to thank you both again so much for coming all the way down to Hamilton, and just wonderful to hear about all that you are doing. Thank you again.
Thank you. We're here for you. We're here with you. I'll leave some of my cards here. If I don't have an answer for you, we'll find an answer for you. If you have ideas for us, please do so. I know that we're, about an hour away from each other. CAS Welcomes Refugees is a great group. It's not too far from you. What they did was they had a group of people together. They had some money, and they wanted to sponsor a family. It took 2 years to get all the things in a row because it was a different county, because you had to go through Madison County and all of the different, challenges. They do have an Afghan family living there, and they're repurposing a house for 2 more families. So it's a great group to get engaged with. They're right kind of, near you. And we're happy to do whatever it takes. Thank you so much for organizing this, Beth, and just